Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film.
We head to Afghanistan this week with Paul Kadis's 2014 Global War on Terror epic, Kilo 2 Bravo. As always, I am joined by Mike A,
Hello.
Mike B,
Yes, sir.
and Nate.
Shut up.
I was hoping the crunch would be the
I'm
entire...
hoping it'll be probably. I thought about it, but yeah.
It came through. You're
Yeah.
good.
So, guys, what'd you think?
Oh man. Well, I guess I'll go first. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't look it up beforehand or anything like that. Brian just texted us and said, "Hey, this is the movie we're watching." Like, all right, fine. Here's the link to it. All right, let me watch this thing. And about 20 minutes into it, it changed completely, and I was on the edge of my seat from that point until the very end of the movie, and I was captivated and terrified, and I thought it was very interesting, well done, very moving, and I loved it.
Yeah. This was again same thing. The whole whenever Brian suggests a film, I'm like, okay, because he's a fucking cinephile. But this thing, yeah, same thing. 5 minutes in, I was like, oh, this is legit. And then it just got worse and worse. Not worse in like a film way, but like the situation got worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, it's really heavy shit. So basically, I was viewing a squad, or a platoon rather, but like a squad mainly, of British soldiers in Helmand in 2006 walking into a fucking awful situation, and that happens so often. And the acting, the writing, the directing was way more than I expect something like this to be, because it was so I had to walk away a few times because I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. I had to walk away, take a breather, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, it was it's a very, pun not necessarily intended, but for joking, yeah. It was very impactful. And it was I think it was very good. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So Nate.
Yeah. So I think same thing like the other two. I normally try to stay away from trailers. Try to stay away from anything that can spoil a plot nowadays, unless it's like the movie's actively coming out. I really don't do any research on the trailer side of stuff. But you always kind of take a look at the IMDb and you go, okay, I know some of these guys. Like, there's a few Game of Thrones actors in this film. There's a couple other people like that, and it's like, okay. I'm like, all right. This is like, at first I thought it was Bravo 20 because my dyslexia kicked in, and I'm just
me too.
Yeah, it's kind of the same title.
I'll probably call it that too a few times, but
and then but then I was like, oh right, it's a different movie, and like I think the other two, it's like, was not expecting it, was waiting for Taliban ambush drop that never comes, and it's literally just fighting the environment of a war of the previous war. Like, it's insane. And although I could predict what was going to happen through camera placement and cinematography, both were top notch. I was not expecting the third and fourth landmine stuff. That definitely threw me for a loop. But when the second one, when they angled the camera with that open gap, I'm like, that guy's gonna fucking. I'm like, and right there, and like I literally counted it down. But there were moments in this film that really made me cringe. I even cringed and started doing that nervous chuckle you get where you're just you're uncomfortable.
Yep.
Like I was doing that a few times. But no, the long story short, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It's a breath of fresh air in terms of the monotony and monotony doesn't normally mean bad, but it just means like this is a war film without it being a war film in a conventional sense. And I think it plays a huge part in the human psyche with sound, with cinematography, with placement, with everything. And I think it does a very good job with what it does. Very pleasantly surprised through the whole thing.
You guys wait. One of these weeks you're gonna get a text that's gonna say G.I. Jane.
God.
But no, it's a very interesting film, and this is we have Sean to blame as well for this trauma. So thank you, Sean, friend of the channel. Yeah, it's a very interesting film. You know, it starts out much differently than how it ends, and I was not expecting what we saw. You know, and the biggest thing for me is just watching it, and at the end they have the tribute, and I'm like, oh, this is real. This is like real, not like Coen Brothers real. Like, you know, this happened, and I looked it up, and it's like, oh fuck, yeah, no, it's crazy. So I had a much different opinion until I saw that, and after the first 20 minutes. So I will get into it everything, but it's very well done. It's very interesting, and it's great to see the war in Afghanistan, at least from a different perspective, because I've seen so many like lone survivors and that kind of shit. The Outpost, great story. You know, we know Jonesy and stuff, but again, the American side of the war in Afghanistan has been told so many different ways. It's just refreshing to see a new way. And on top of that, you know, Bravo 2-0 is a very interesting film, but it's based, you know, off pure fiction. Like when you look at the real story about what happened to those guys. So it's really as well refreshing to get a British story from the war that actually is 100% true. None of this, you know, oh, we fought off brigades of Iraqis and bullshit. It's like, no, this is a real story. And it was just, yeah, it was nice and refreshing. And on top of all that, Afghanistan is fucking insane for how many mines there are. If you look into any of the history of the fighting there, the Soviets just fucking dropped tens of thousands of them out the back of fucking planes. The butterfly mines, they had mines that looked like child's toys and everything. Like, it's insane. They're everywhere. And, you know, it's, yeah, all those EUD TV shows you see, you know, it's just, it was a very neat subject. And there's another film we've done before that touches on mines. It was Land of Mine.
Land of Mine, yeah.
And that's an interesting film. That one didn't, you know, spark too much interest with me, but this is such another interesting rehashing of the same thing of, you know, fighting something you can't see. So it was a very good movie.
Yeah, very good. I know what you're saying, Nate. Like there are some beats where you could tell when the mine is gonna go off, just by the way it's directed and the sound editing and all that. But even so, even though I was still like every time someone would walk, eventually it was just like holy fuck, and also every time a mine did go off, I kind of had the same feeling that everyone else did, where it's like, oh god, who was it? Who got it? How bad are the injuries? And it took a minute for the dust to settle until they would reveal it, just like how it would be in real life. And I mean, guys are getting hit like multiple times. There's there's this like guys out there, and eventually, I mean, one guy gets his entire inside of his armpit torn apart, and then the one goes off after that, and it blows his like lip off. Like Jesus Christ, yeah, that
melted his lip, but
melted his lip. Yeah,
it's fucking gross. Yeah, it's
disgusting.
It was like, even though it's predictable in some of the cinematography kind of telegraphing. There we go. That's the word.
Yep.
It doesn't take away from how fucking impactful this film is.
Right.
Like I mean, it's a very, 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 very great example of when a sound department, the cinematographer and the director all on one page, and the editor. It is very much an example of all the parts working together to form that. Because how many of these films have we done where that doesn't happen? Mm-hmm. Or it's like, this is great, but the music, what the fuck? Or, which, by the way, there's a lack of music in this whole entire film.
Mm-hmm.
So
it works perfectly.
But I just want to bring this up now because I'll say it like this. I want to hire the people that did the fucking visual effects as far as like the
Oh, yeah.
props for the wombs on this film because they
Oh
were
my
so
God.
well done. Like,
Yeah.
as someone who has not been in combat, who's watched it from afar and seen trauma from afar, like, holy shit, you know, knowing as much as I know, wow, there's no real film out there that's really like this, that captures just the vividness of you know, a physical injury.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And
You
the reaction of the people to that, because one guy just goes, "Oh, I can't remember names. I'm sorry, I don't remember names very well in real life. But like in movies, it's even harder. But like, yeah, the wounds that were sustained looked amazing. I'm not saying that in a good way. I'm saying that in a both good and bad way. But the people who sustained the wounds, their reactions were what I was impressed with. Is because you've got one guy, his fucking leg is gone, or most of his leg is gone, and he's just sitting there going, "All right, yeah, okay, just give me morphine, just do that, you know. Oh fuck, this sucks." The other guy is like fucking screaming, and different people have different levels of pain they can tolerate. They tolerate pain in a different way, and the fact that they portrayed that's one of the things that got me a little bit, was like they're showing the one guy screaming and the one guy just going, "Oh, just put a tourniquet on that, you know, do this, do that. All right, I'll be good." And the other guy's just fucking, you know, they're like, "You got to shut up, dude. You got to fucking shut up." And that was very poignant in the way of conveying how it actually is with people. So, Mike?
Yeah, that's what the very very first one, the guy who gets the first guy who gets his leg blown off. What I was really impressed with that, and when I knew like, okay, this isn't going to be your kind of average war film, is that he steps on the mine and immediately right afterwards he starts just yelling, "Contact! Contact!" Like just the adrenaline is going
Mortars,
through him.
mortars,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, and he's just like
Yep.
freaking out. And then he comes up, he's like, "Dude, you stepped on a landmine." He's like, "Oh," and then the pain hits him at that point. You know.
Nate had his hand up first. Go ahead, Nate.
I'm to talk to you about the guy who was screaming. In the end, they say that he's the guy he said who wasn't reacting. He was like, you know, constantly freaking out. Apparently, he could not handle morphine.
Yeah, it said that at the end.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
he was immune.
So I
to
thought
it,
that was
yeah.
I thought that was a good interpretation. Immune to it, thank you. And then
But
the
even
second,
before he got his morphine shot, he was fucking screaming.
right, yeah, no.
And it's like people handle pain differently. People handle trauma differently.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's different, and they conveyed that so uncomfortably well in this film that it was one of the good things. Brian?
The sniper, the first guy that stepped on the landmine,
Yep.
saw the incident. He mentioned that when it happened, he thought it was a mortar shell that landed. That was
Yep.
his first reaction. He had no idea he stepped on a landmine. So that's why he yelled contact and everything, because in his mind, he thought that they were being shelled because of everything that was going on. Because he was like, well, he just clicked like, we're probably being watched. They got us in a shitty situation. So
I rewound that a couple times, and what I love too is that when he's screaming, it's because like the guy comes up to help him, and he's like, "Get your eyes up there!" He's like, "Look up there!" He's like trying to, and he goes, he said, the guy's saying to him, "Calm down," and he goes, "Look at my fucking finger! Don't tell me to calm down."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And
It was so fucking real. Like that's how people react. Like if you step on a fucking mine, A, your body's in shock. B, you go to your training and you go, "Contact."
right.
That's what you do. Like that's what people who are in the military and like have been in combat zones, you go to your fucking training immediately when you're a new guy, right? And even if you're not a new guy, like you just it just bam, it's not even a fucking thought, it's just muscle memory. And to yell at contact, mortars incoming, 100% accurate.
Yep. I love that
100%.
because you'll go ahead, Nate.
Well, I was gonna say, I know why you think that the visual or the prosthetic effects are really good. I just looked up the guy and what he's worked on. He worked on 28 Days Later, Hellboy 2, Golden Army, The Titan, Assassin's Creed, Napoleon, The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Oh yeah.
Like tons of high budget last
Damn.
20 years of visual effects, of prosthetic visual effects.
And they got him for this film.
I need that
Yeah.
guy's agent.
Now talking on that though, because I'm looking at that, this is what I always look up. This is the last film the director's ever done.
Well, he should continue. I mean, it's funny.
This is 2014, so it's
I tried to look it up a little bit too. This movie, it's not like this is a major blockbuster or anything. I couldn't really find a whole lot of info
It did really
on it.
poorly, at least in terms of numbers I could find.
And that pisses me off because it's like when I was watching this, and same with the movie that we watched before this one, I'm like, this is the kind of war movie that I want to make. You know, these are the kind of war movies that I want there to be made. This is the kind of stuff I want there to be mainstream. Why isn't this on Netflix? You know, put this shit on Netflix. I mean, like, you have Mosul on Netflix, which is good. Have this also on there. Like, why do I have to like dig and, through shit to find gems like this? Go ahead, Brian.
I can tell you why right now, and it's not a good answer, but it's the answer. War fatigue. 10 years, 13 years into the Gwot. I mean, people didn't give a shit.
I don't care what the
as
fuck
much
the
as that
conflict's
sucks. No, I know that, but it came out 10, 15 years into something that, it's people in middle school were born after 9/11. There's a lot of films from the mid-teens that do whatever just are great, but they're just not really well known.
But,
and
yeah.
just as we know, it can come down to bad distribution. There's a million different reasons why films, don't end up where they need to be. But it's just it sucks. But
I mean, you can make a movie about the politics in war and stuff like that. That's fine. But like this kind of movie, like you could put this story in any war.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's
100%.
right. And it's like it doesn't. You just strip all of the fucking this is war on terror and all that stuff. It has nothing to do with that. Yeah.
No, but it's such a relatable story because it's like, okay, their particular situation is landmines, right? And I was always like you said, or whoever, I think Nate said it. Like I was always anticipating like the ambush. Okay, you get caught with your pants down, literally. It never happens. It keeps you on edge though because those guys were on edge. They had security, but it's like if we get ambushed right now, we are completely and utterly fucked.
I was waiting for it.
It's going to be 100% fucking casualty rate. Like that's it, right? And or they'll fucking take prisoners, which is even worse. And it's like it keeps you on edge. The way it was directed, really not bad. I mean, it showed, okay, you're on a small fucking like a cop, right? And you've got this elite third paras, right? Long story short, they've got their lineage from like 5th para and 6th para in World War II. They've been in pretty much every conflict since World War II. Third paras, good, well-trained troops. And then I was thinking that this was going to be a film about the replacement guy that gets in there, the signal guy. Like, but it wasn't. It was just like, oh, he just happened to fucking be there. And that's how it goes.
I was waiting for it to be like the main character kind of situation.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I'm like, because so many other films fucking just do that. It's like, well, that's not realistic. When a new guy comes in, okay, well, do this, and then go out. Oh, okay, this guy needs help. You're gonna go out there with him. So it really portrayed that aspect so fucking well, among a bunch of others. But Nate,
well, it kind of stayed with the main character, but it eludes you like the main character. The opening setup is the medic.
Yeah.
Is the medic guy swimming in the lake and he almost gets fish grenaded.
Which was funny as shit.
Which I thought was great. Yeah. I like don't pick a fight with a midget with a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope you learned something.
Yeah. Like
Yep.
like cinematography, that was a beautiful shot, and the way it opened up. I mean, the location they filmed on was gorgeous. I forgot to look that up. I'll look that up in a
Probably
second,
Lebanon. A lot of
yeah,
stuff's filmed
something
in
like that.
Lebanon.
Yeah. The thing is though, it's like it kind of stayed with the main character. Like if you look at it as the cookie cutter stuff, it's the medic, but it eludes you. Like you think it's going to be the new guy who comes in, and then you kind of don't focus on the medic for a while, and then you come back, and then he seems to be the sole kind of focus. And
but it's not like because the new guy was from the 216th Parachute Signal Squadron, because he's wearing the shoulder flash. I'm not fluent in most of the British shoulder flashes. right? Or the whatever the fuck they call them. There's a name for them, but like the patch, right? And you would think that most movies would follow the new guy, right? And that's what I love that they didn't do. They followed the medic, but they also followed everybody. And that's not common in film, Brian.
So while we're here, this is a two-pronged question in a way. First, CGI, and secondly, sets. So when it started, I was like, uh-oh. I was a little afraid because everything looked great, but it wasn't a lot of things. And, the thing is with this film is they got everything they needed for the later sequences of the film. They got everything like really awesome, but that at scale for the dam and everything just doesn't look as impressive as it should.
You think that was CG? Is that what you're saying?
No, sorry. That's what I mean. This is a two-pronged question. I'm saying that the gear,
Okay.
everything I've seen it is awesome, down to like the tourniquets and talcum powder. Everything is right. Everything's
Correct.
real, but they only got enough for like, a platoon. And when you scale it up to the size of the set for the dam in the beginning, it just makes it feel a little cheap, because yes, they have these like fobs that are out there, but it just, I don't know. It felt like too.
They're not fobs, they're cops.
But you know what I mean? Like it just felt too little for too much space.
It felt more independent in the beginning until it got to the top, and then it felt higher budget.
And then once we get there, and like, okay, you kind of get like a layout and night sets. That's when I feel like the real movie starts, because you have the whole night vision sequences that are very interesting. How they're filmed and stuff, and you get this very interesting creative filmmaking where it's like, they got what they needed to tell the mine story, and they did everything they could to cover the rest of it with B shots and stuff, and it's very good filmmaking. And the CGI Chinook and things like that was interesting. But
it wasn't bad though.
Well, I'm saying there were scenes where it was like,
yeah,
okay, but there was very creative scenes too, where like they used the drone, it looked like, and they used like an overlay of the end of like or the interior of a Chinook to like cover things. But I'm just saying that they got everything they needed for the later sequences of the film. It's just how they use that in the beginning, in my personal opinion, could have done a little bit better.
Well, I think what you're saying kind of goes into what I said in my opening statement, which is that for me, the first like 10, 15, 20 minutes, I was just kind of like trying to kind of see where it was going. I'm like, okay, is this just going to be another We Held the Line movie? Like, is that what this is? Like, and
We Held the Hill.
Right, we held.
I was
the hill
waiting for that. I was waiting for like
Yeah.
bonsai Taliban
Right,
Chinese
and at the
wave
very end of the
tactics.
movie, you're going to
Yeah.
get this text: the such and such division held the hill for this long. No
Yeah.
one ever said that
Gloucester
Patton needed to come save them, or something.
Yeah, I was
And,
waiting for that, and then when they go down the goat path into the riverbed, I'm like,
Right,
it's something's going to kick off, or it's going to be a mine, because they talked about Soviet mines,
right. So
and then blam,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, okay.
that's, in my opinion, yeah. Like once that's when the movie starts, like for real. But before that, yeah, like what all the things that you're kind of talking about, it is kind of like, all right, this seems kind of a little. We're starting out as generic war movie, but then it subverts,
And again, that's a real Landover. That's all. Everything is awesome. Nothing is hokey. It's just how it's applied, and it's hard. It's like, again, they got everything needed for their story, but it's really hard to show a cop or in full active use, in a war zone.
And also when you're
know?
starting out filming, you got a lot of kinks to work out.
Oh,
that you're like, oh shit,
Exactly.
And that's why like I don't really judge the first like usual 10, 15 minutes of a film as harshly. I'll recognize things that they could have done better, whatever. But like I know how it goes now, so I'm like, okay. Once they got into the groove, that groove on this film, pretty damn good. But yeah, there's things in the beginning where I was like, why would you send your fucking your designated marksman out first? Okay, why would you do that? But they did that because they were dumb, and they were just like, oh, whatever, or he was dumb. It's a real story, and they got all the info that they possibly could from that. Okay, I respect that. But at the beginning, you don't know, and you're just like, what? But the thing that got me, like, or hooked me in was the banter between the guys. Immediately. It was like, oh, the writing's going to be good on this one for once.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, Okay.
My favorite was 5 minutes in of the guy mocking the other guy, going, "For fuck's sake!" Like they mocking each other.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
with the
yeah.
same
And he knows, yeah,
accent
he
and
knows.
everything. Because
He knows what he's
and
gonna
it's
say. Yep.
and it's funny because with us being Americans, we don't. At least me being an American, I won't speak for you guys, but for me being an American, it's like I know there's difference in accents and stuff like that, but I don't know where they are from. And for me, it's like it's probably the equivalent of some fucking schmuck from Chicago, and then like some fucking schmuck from New England, and someone from down in Texas, and someone in California and Florida. It's like it's that difference, but it's just funny. It's funny because it's like even though I'm an American, I still know there's a difference in the accents and the delivery and all that kind of stuff, and I can see that all these people are from different areas, so you have that banter of joking back and forth with that.
Yeah, they were most of those guys were from northern England or Scotland. And most of the guys, not all of them, but Third Para it's a very prestigious unit. Like it's like the 82nd Airborne basically of the UK, right? It's a very prestigious unit to get into, and this unit happened to be filled with mostly northern Britain and Scots, like with the accents. So
Right. There was not one actor that was weak in my opinion.
no,
Yeah.
my God, these actors were
Only from Blood Loss.
Nice.
God damn it, Brian.
It's the only. Hey,
fucking ass
I
clown.
will admit that took me a full second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it took me. Yeah, we got it at the same time.
I
so.
think it's a compliment, to be honest.
No, but okay, so let's comment on that because the actors, there was not one who I saw who was not completely a soldier in this film. Like, that is literally how soldiers from whatever fucking country you're in, you have different slang and all that shit. That's how they act.
Yeah. Well, the thing is this great too is that like in a horrible situation like that, like a guy gets his fucking leg blown off when they're treating him like one of his he's like, please just tell me my dick is still there, and he goes, yeah, it's still there, it's still small.
Yeah.
You know, and like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's like you're still bullshitting him and everything. It's great.
And I did
It
like
never
too, the
stops.
guys that are responding and like putting the tourniquets on are kind of shook.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right. And then they're trying to stay calm because they don't want to upset the person. And that's how it is in real life. Like you're going through your thing of like, oh God, this guy's fucked. But okay. And then you get past it and you go back to your training and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to put a tourniquet on here. And the one guy is like saying, put a fucking tourniquet here. And I'm like, okay, yep. And then here's the thing too, is the one thing that they didn't show in the film, and I understand why, is so they got the tourniquets tight and they're like, oh, it hurts. In real life, you get it tight and then you have this like, stick on them that's built in.
Yeah.
And you crank it. I mean, you're literally
They kind of showed that on one of them, but not.
they didn't, and I'm glad they didn't because that might have been too graphic for a lot of people to watch, because it is when you're doing that, blood comes out of the wound really hard, and then the pain is so fucking immense because you're literally your body's reacting to getting an entire appendage cut off of circulation, and it's like the pressure that's on there. It's a wound. But no, you crank them down until the bleeding stops, not until they stop screaming. You're like, okay, the faucet is off now. And it's usually, it's very graphic and it's very fucked up. But here's the thing is that's what saves lives. That's why most of those guys survived. You know, it's because they had tourniquets. Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I should have thought of that because, yeah, I have seen footage and things about tourniquets and stuff, and they have that stick on there. Or, like, in World War II, they talk about, like, putting a stick in there itself and doing that, you know, like...
Yeah, and it's really vile and graphic, but if it's going to save your buddy's life, you don't give a shit at that point how much pain he's in, because you're like, no, I don't want you to die. So
right.
I'm gonna twist this fucking thing as hard as it's going to go until the bleeding stops. And then I'm surprised they had morphine too, but that's another thing. Go ahead, Brian.
All I have to add is that, and there's these two like A-pillars that you use to lock it in place. And then for the tourniquet.
Yeah, they have that built in.
On
the
sides.
cats.
So it's not like you have to like hold it or anything. It's like you get it to...
No, you set it in there once it's at that point, and then it's like, yeah.
because I
but
ended up
it
with
fucking
some.
hurts. Like
Oh yeah.
we did training tourniquets like when we weren't wounded, like for CLS or combat lifesaver and shit. And apparently that doesn't mean anything to certain people that were at Ohio. But like we would do that to each other, and we would like tighten them down, and like we would ratchet it down a little bit. And I'm like, god damn it! And medic's like, all right, you're done. That is about 10% of the way that you need to go to stop bleeding on an appendage. And I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah, go ahead.
That reminds me, one of my favorite scenes from the film, and it just kind of goes to show, how you never know when you're going to have to use training, is when the one guy's lung is collapsed.
Oh my God.
He's
I had to step away for a bit.
God,
yeah.
Me. And he's like, that was 2 years ago, like a drunk weekend in Belfast. I don't remember. And it's just like,
no,
was a great scene.
Let's talk about that because he was
true.
saying, I knew what was going. I'm sorry. I'm just going to interrupt you because so that is one thing that I've never seen portrayed in any film whatsoever, is what's called a tension pneumothorax, right? They never called it that. He got hit through the right lung, and you could tell, and it's like, and he's sitting there and he's going, oh fuck, I know what this is. Because when you have training, you can get back to that and know that, okay, my lung is collapsed because I can't breathe. And what happens for people that are listening, it's really fucking graphic, but it's something that happens not just in the military, but like it can happen anytime you get a punctured chest cavity. That scene was done so well. So there's air getting into your lung cavity, right? It's not allowed to get out. And so you've got a bunch of air around your lung, and you cannot expand your lung to breathe. It's a collapsed lung. That's what the layman terms for it. And the I guess medical term is the tension pneumothorax, right? So what the only solution you have in that is to get some way to get the air in that cavity out of the fucking chest cavity so your lung can expand and you can breathe. Okay. Well, what they did in the film was exactly correct. When he's telling the one guy, you have to cut between the second and third intercostal space, which is the second and third rib, like down from, well, you guys can't see me, but like people are listening. It's your second and third rib down from your collarbone, and it's not that far down from your collarbone. And the old way was to cut an incision in there and put a flutter valve on there and get air out so air couldn't get back in there, and then you seal the wound itself. And what they did is they eventually got the fucking 12 gauge needle. It's a giant needle. So if you've ever gotten an IV, that's about a 22 gauge needle most of the time, right? Sometimes they're 18, but it's a big needle. A 12 gauge needle is literally a metal garden hose. And what you do is to relieve the air inside of that, your rib cage, you punch this giant fucking needle in between the second and third intercostal space, in between the ribs, because it won't puncture the lung, but it'll still have access to the air that's in there, and you punch it in through there, and then you pull the needle out after you hear the pop hiss, because you hear a like they did in the film.
Ugh.
It wasn't as real, but it was good. And so he hears that, and then all of a sudden there's a catheter that's on the side of the needle. You pop that in there. It's a piece of plastic, so it's softer. You pull the needle out, and then you apply tape around there and all that shit. It's also a very temporary solution to get to a hospital. So they did that in this film, and I literally cringed. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta take a step back because they did it so well. And it's never been on any other film, because if you've got a tension pneumothorax, you're fucked. Especially if you're wounded, you need more oxygen. If your one lung is completely not working, you're fucked. But they did that, and then you hear the psss, and then it's like, okay. And it's extremely painful. It's disgusting, but it works, and they portrayed that in this film, and it was like really good. Really good. Go ahead, Brian.
And the whole sequence leading up to it too, of just like the back and forth of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not comfortable doing this.
Right.
And the guy's like, I'm going to die. and again, his clumsy hands on top of the guy with like what to do, and then the medic is just like, oh, 1, 2, and he uses his fingers to measure the distance from the clavicle.
Yeah,
where
that's what
he's-
you do.
Yeah,
It's your second knuckle.
yeah.
Yeah.
and just
Yep.
again, you can tell with the hands. It's like someone with experience versus like that was I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It was very well done.
And this is also
Um,
2006 before they started really teaching us. Yeah, it's two
Mm-hmm.
knuckles, but you also have to feel. Go to the clavicle, 1, 2, and between the second and third, and you punch here. They taught us that. So this is 2006. They had been teaching that to the medics, but not to the grunts.
I think this has come up in other films. I want to say there's an older film that has something like this, but I can't remember off the top of my head, so I don't want to say it. But I know in Lone Survivor, one of the guys has a collapsed lung that doesn't get treated, and he slowly dies. The sniper,
Yeah.
one of the DMR guys, and that's very well depicted of what happens when, you just
You're done.
slowly lose. Yeah.
Yeah, because your heart starts beating faster because you don't have enough oxygen, and it starts to overcompensate.
Yeah.
And it's.
You basically suffocate.
But this is the only film that I've seen
You
that
drown.
where it's actually treated
Oh yeah.
on the spot. And
the guy's
that-
reaction too is,
Yep.
I mean, I've never seen that happen in real life, obviously, but like the guy's react when he just puts it in, he's like, fuck, 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 and you can hear the hissing. It's just
Dude,
like,
that needle
whoa.
is so. It's like the size of a fucking pen, basically.
yeah,
Right. Well, not this big, but like it's about half the width of a pen, half the diameter. It's a big needle, and it's long. And when you, and so it was a hell of a depiction of how to treat that particular kind of wound.
yeah.
And the guy lived.
Thank fucking God.
Yeah. So it's like, that was one where I'm just like, oh, I got to take a breather for a second because it's like, whew. Yeah.
There were a couple of those in this. I mean, like I say, every time a landmine went off, I was like, oh my God, like who else got it? How bad is it?
Hey, Michael, want a water?
What also another great moment where I was like, okay, this movie is, they actually have the balls to make this something more than it could be, is when that Chinook came in and they're like, we're not loading onto that, and they wave them off and the Chinook takes off, the first rescue copter to come in, and they're like,
Yep.
they don't get on it, and like, no, we're not wandering through the mines. And then also when when they do finally come to save them, they're rappelling down and they're like, don't land, and
Yeah, I was waiting for one of the Black Hawk guys to eat it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
didn't
that's the
happen.
thing is they could have, but they didn't. Yeah.
It didn't happen, but like with this movie, I'm like, I don't know at this point, dude. Like it could. So go ahead, Brian.
And that was a real Blackhawk. That was
yeah.
like,
That was a real shit hook too.
Yeah, that was.
when they actually
A
came in
real
close.
shit hook.
I don't think they had a real Chinook for this.
It looked
That looked real to
unbelievably
me.
real.
That looked real to me.
What scenes? Because in the
The
beginning they
ones where they're
don't.
coming in and they're like trying to land.
I think
Not
that's
when
all
they're
CGI.
flying, but like
No.
You think
it's,
so?
No, it's real, but I think it's comped. And that might be why your eye is being angry about it and you think it's CG. I think it's CG placed, but it's a real Chinook.
The part where also where the camera is inside the back and the guy's going like this,
Yes.
and they're
Yeah.
like, that is green screened. That's
Yeah.
what
Oh yeah.
It's
yeah,
it's a
that
real
part was.
it's a real Chinook, but they're comping it within the scene. That might be why
Right.
you're saying it's CG, which in a way you're correct. I'm just saying like a full like rendered out Chinook. No, that's a real Chinook.
Yeah,
It's probably comped in.
Just all the Chinook scenes are enhanced,
it's,
and
it's not like
they do a
yeah.
good
Yeah.
job. They believe me,
Yep.
I'm not knocking it,
I've seen
even
some,
though I am. Oh,
I've seen
fuck.
some
Tunnel
far
rats?
worse aircraft in movies.
Yeah. Yep.
I've seen one where the blades weren't even moving.
What was the one? What was the one we were joking about? Like even
The
the forced
Covenant.
perspective in Platoon or something is
The
bad.
Covenant.
No, there was
Covenant.
The Covenant has a terrible AC-130 scene in
Yep.
that.
there's a part in
Oh.
there's that shot in Platoon though where it's like just the jets like
Yeah, that's the one. Like the
Yeah.
perspective. Yes.
yeah.
Forever.
It's like a black shadow of it, but
Yep.
yeah, I've seen Generation Kill. Also, all of the aircraft are CGI in that.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. But the Black Hawk, that was real for sure, and because you could tell just like the freaking downdraft and the
Oh, yeah.
everything, and same with the shit hook. It's like it was like what?
I love that.
That's what they're
Shit
called.
hook. Yeah.
That's what we call them, shit hooks.
I know. I don't hear it that often.
When
It makes me laugh.
And when it flew over, the first thing I thought of is that, once you know, is that, here comes the fucking burning transmission oil.
Hydraulic fluid.
Yeah, hydraulic fluid. Like,
it's red. It's hot,
Yeah.
and it
and
does
it's coming
burn.
for your back. Yep.
That's what. I asked. I mean, even Don, who was in Vietnam, like I was like, were they leaking hydraulic fluid? He goes, oh shit, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. If they're not leaking, they're not working. Like there's something wrong. So yeah.
It's the same about Jeeps. If they're not marking their territory, they're out of oil.
Dude, I cannot express to you how many times I've had hot hydraulic fluid from a shit hook flying over me, like at about 100 feet going to the helipad. Just, it's leaking constantly. There's just shit dripping off of it. And anyway, but yeah, those scenes were not, they're forgivable, I'll say. We'll just say that. So, yeah, but the tension pneumothorax scene was really graphic. So was the rest of them. Like how they're actually treating the casualties is how you treat casualties.
Well, yeah,
right.
And sorry, was someone going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. What I love too in that is it's not all perfect. I mean, like that guy, he has his armpit, all fucked up, and this guy's he's trying to tell him what to do. The main medic guy. And eventually he's like, it's not going to always like, okay, we'll just forget the tourniquet then. It's like,
well, you can't put it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like, you can't put a tourniquet on there because with that, you need what's called combat gauze, which didn't come out until like a year later.
Like quick clot and that kind of stuff?
Well, they had that, but it burns you really bad. And in that kind of wound, you don't want to put quick clot in there because it's next to a vital organ or multiple vital organs.
And you get seepage. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get seepage. But combat gauze has a less caustic hemostatic agent in it, and you can pack at least the outside. That's why when the guy was like, I just gotta see where the blood's coming from or where it's going, and he's like, oh shit, it's going into his cavity, like, fuck, how do I do this? And that was a tough wound. Like that was, how the hell do you treat that? But I'm pretty sure was that the guy that died, or I think he survived?
Yeah,
he died.
That's the one he died.
Yeah,
because yeah, exactly. And it was like that's a really, unless you get immediate medical, like professional medical attention, it's so bad because
not sitting 3 hours in a fucking
and also the infection gets in there and all the dust and all the shit. And it's like, yeah, and I mean, what do you do? Like the guy did everything he possibly could.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Because finally when he says fuck the tourniquet, the medic eventually takes a shirt and just packs it in there. And
that's all you can do.
Yeah. And at one point he says, "Oh, I'm going to take a look," and he lifts up, and it just looks like, fucking cooked meat in there. And it's like, God damn it.
Like,
what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna.
No, you're not gonna eat Korean barbecue tonight.
Make some dinner tonight. Yeah.
Hey man, this is the shit. That we're talking about it, and yeah, I'm gonna say what it is.
Michael, can you describe your movie about Omaha Beach in 2 words? Cooked meat. Thank you. Thank you. More at 7.
No, that was a nasty wound that like they actually, again, the prosthetic guy.
Yeah.
Fucking nailed it.
Working in zombies movies, man. He knows what it's about.
Dude, because he was moving. He was moving, and the thing was moving with him, and that's what made it like, I'm like, because usually when you put a prosthetic on, like the person can move, but the prosthetic's just gonna kind of do its own thing.
Yeah.
And it won't move.
There are prosthetics, like bad prosthetics, where you can, like, someone moves, you just see like the wrinkles in the seam of the rubber and shit like that, But I didn't see that at all in this. Go ahead, Brian.
When he moved his arm and it was the 2 different colors of flesh, that was nasty.
It really,
it's like because wounds have depth. I mean, I sliced my head open once and I saw down to the nerve endings, and it's like, oh, when you see that, it's like, holy shit, it's like it's a layer cake.
Another thing, it's a layer cake. Another thing that was really impressive with this, and from what I could tell, accurate, is that with these kinds of explosives go off too, like there's this at the speed of light, this burn that these guys,
Yes.
get. Yeah, and it's like
Yeah,
you don't see, the naked eye can't see it, but it happens.
It's such a that's what I think I talked about this a lot on this pod and like just to you guys, but like movies get it wrong. They're like this huge fiery thing. No, when explosives go off, there's a quick flash, but it is intense. I mean, thousands of degrees of heat in one instant, and yeah, you're gonna get burns if you're close enough.
Yeah, and there's a lot of burns.
It's mines terrify me to unholy hell because they're meant to maim. They're not
Yes.
meant to kill. And maiming is
It's
awful.
a demoralizer.
Yeah, it's fucking awful, and it takes assets to get you out. I mean, that's the whole goal is to
Yes.
do exactly what this did.
Slow you down.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, it is meant for it was meant for Afghans 20 years before. Brian.
The only mines made to kill those late war Japanese living anti-personnel mines.
What
You
about
ever
the
heard
lunch
about that?
mines?
Yeah.
It's like a guy with a 250. No, it's like a guy underground with a hammer and a 250-pound aircraft bomb.
Oh,
And they'd listen and they hear tracks. You just hit it. So
Sorry.
there's really no getting away from that. But
I will say this. I would say, how about landmines specifically from Cold War on are meant to maim. World War II, they were meant to maim, but I felt like they were more less like I'm gonna blow your foot off.
So-
But there was a lot of anti-tank.
And more
mines
just,
in
I'll
World
kill
War
you.
II.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
personnel can't kick those off. But go ahead.
So at the museum I used to work at, towards the end, we got a huge donation of like 30 landmines. This guy was a landmine collector. And oh my God, they made fucking gas landmines in the
Yeah.
50s.
Yep.
Like the amount of fucking crazy shit that they tried to put in explosives in the ground is crazy. And, the Soviets, like I mentioned earlier, they dropped mines basically out of planes all over the country to interdict certain areas. And if you really want to like learn about how crazy mining can get and counter mining and things, look into Rhodesia. The fight in Rhodesia in the 60s and 70s is just chock full of this like crazy mining and shit. And I had this awesome, this guy was in the Rhodesian SAS memoir, where he like parachuted into Zimbabwe and destroyed train lines so they couldn't get supplies, for the rebel groups and stuff. And he talks about how you countermine putting mines into the ground. So like there was a German trick during the Second World War where you take an American hand grenade and you put it underneath a teller mine, so that when you're trying to, work on the teller mine, the hand grenade falls out and it explodes. The Germans also had like these things where they would put fuses on the bottom of the teller mines so that if you tried to pull it up, it would get pulled from the bottom and would explode. There's so many different ways to like countermine and booby trap these things and stuff. And this fucking Rhodesian memoir is like, if you do like these 4 different things, like you'll make a mine that can never be done. And it's like, it's just really crazy. So it's like, as horrible as this is, they're just dealing with like literally mines thrown out of planes on the surface for 40 years. Or sorry, at this point, 20 years. But like, if you really think about, like Cambodia or Ukraine now, it's going to be a very big problem. Like these actual seeded mines that are, dropped or that are, put into the ground with counter mining measures.
With
Like,
intent.
With intent, yeah, like to
Yeah.
kill
Yep.
like when we did a very long time ago, No Man's War, or what was it? The Bosnian film.
No Man's Land.
No Man's Land. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a mine placed under someone with intent, and a mine that is impossible to defuse. So it's just crazy. Like, and just to end it, because I know in the Ukraine they have this crazy thing now where like it's drones that you drive, like RC, that drop anti-tank mines to do interdiction. Like mines are great in warfare for a very limited time for a very limited purpose, but they just cause so much horrible strife and destruction.
Yep.
Not to get too philosophical, but when it comes to the different ways to figure out how to kill people, that seems like that's when the brain is, firing on all cylinders. I mean, people will just like, they will come up with the most creative ways sometimes to build explosives and anything to kill people, stuff like that.
Dude,
Hit him with the full gas
the-
trench.
the whole like Brian was saying, like just like to tap into something that I know verbatim, it's like World War II mine like counter tactics, like what Brian said, are just insane, and every army is different. It's really interesting, like when you go into it and you look at that. I mean, but it's terrible because it's literally like I said before, it's literally a tool that is meant to maim and demoralize and take assets away, and it's literally like it's horrible. And like and watching this played out the way it does, it's like I was expecting maybe 2 mines. I was not expecting 4 or 5.
Oh, they're everywhere. Yeah.
Like to go off. I thought maybe they'd find more. They only found 1 like before it went off, and that's insane, and that alone I think is why this movie I think has really struck all of us in different ways or another. Because I mean, like you could do this really bad. You could do this really bad.
You can say that about any war film.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's
what you're saying
you know
is
what I mean.
You can easily imagine the shitty version of this.
Right? Yeah. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, like it's he's trying to pick the mine out, and he's like, and then 1 drop of sweat slowly lands down
like in Mission
on top
Impossible.
of the mine, and it goes slow
Yeah.
motion, bink, boom, and
Like,
and it's nothing but like a charred upper half, completely gone.
And you get the slow-mo shot of the rocks jumping off the ground. Yeah.
Hey, I actually liked that about fucking Hurt Locker. Don't
Well,
fucking
fuck you.
abuse that.
This could have easily been a British Hurt Locker, but before I
That's
forget,
just
could've
nothing
been,
but pornography to me, stuff like that. Anyway,
I just want to say this too. And before landmines, because it's modern times explosives, the ancient landmine is caltrops. If I pronounce that right. Which
my
are
God.
nasty as fuck. Do you guys happen to know what those are?
Yeah, I do.
Nate or Michael?
I know that, but like, I
they're-
want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I know of them, but I don't know.
Yeah,
much
it's
detail,
basically
yeah.
like depending on variations, the Romans use them and stuff. But it's like 2 different pieces of steel that are hooked together to make a little triangle.
Yeah.
And traditionally you would put them in crossings of rivers, so that when armies would try to cross, all the horses would basically be maimed, and troops would be maimed because you get a fucking 1 or 2 inch spike that goes through your fucking leg.
Rusty.
And
Rusty.
yeah,
Yep.
because they're just made to get
Tetanus.
thrown
Yep.
and forgotten. So, and it's an interdiction kind of
Ugh.
thing, But just
It's a
imagine that.
slow down the army. Slow down the
Yeah.
advance.
Ugh,
It's the same thing with landmines.
Yeah, but throw it in a shallow crossing. Oh my god, nobody's gonna know.
That's
Nobody's
basically a
nobody's gonna
landmine for antiquity.
Literally.
That's what
yeah.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, but I just recently learned about. Don't mean to get too off topic, but one of the booby traps that like the Vietnamese would use was this. They dig a hole and then they would have like these rollers with spikes all
Yeah,
along
spinners-
them on both
spinner
sides.
benders,
Yeah,
yeah.
your leg goes down, and your leg drops in. The things spin and just chew up your leg.
And you can't get out because then it's gonna
do it again. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
There are a ton of those horrible ones. I have this crazy book. It's an original Vietnam War like pamphlet on NVA booby traps, and it gets crazy to like Vietnamese suicide coke girls. There was like if they try to sell you coke, but they're wired, and some are a little out there, but the craziest one in the book for me at least is the anti-helicopter trap. And what they do is that they basically set wires along a field. And so when a helicopter lands, it will trigger a wire and it goes to an RPG round that's literally in a piece of bamboo that's been hollowed out with an electrical charge. So that the helicopter will land and it will just trigger this RPG round that might hit it to fire out. And it's like, just think about that.
Again,
Just
when it comes
think
to
about
killing people, there are no
Yep.
limits to what the brain will come up with.
Well, and
Oh,
that's the
it's
thing
insane.
too. Is like, yeah, with this particular incident that happened in the film is like, they're like, yeah, all these mines like over time wash down. So there's probably like 6 or 7 mines in that little pass just to kind of slow people down. But all these mines just flowed down, and some of them probably went off, and then some of them are upside down, some of them are whatever, and it's like. They're also probably on the pressure point, if they're upside down, buried underneath that shit, where you breathe on it and it'll go off. Because it's just that extra, grain of energy that it takes to set the fuse off. And so that's why it's so terrifying. And one of the scenes that like was really fucked up, but like accurate is the medic like going over and like throwing his bag first and then like trying to jump on the bag.
Yeah.
That was nerve-wracking as shit.
Sorry, Mike. I loved the kind of coming to the idea slowly as he's 3/4 of the way through of what the fuck he's just doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I loved that interpretation. It's not like he had his mindset. It's that he was panicking, because he knows he's the only one who knows how he can do this to save their life. So he just goes, and 3/4 of the way through, he goes, "What the fuck am I doing?" And it's like, I loved that, all of that, and the building of the tension, and none of it is music, sound
Nope.
effects, nothing. It's just film,
That's all you need.
and that's all you need.
And what I loved about that too is when he initially starts doing that, where he throws his bag and then he jumps on it, is the guy's like, "You're supposed to land on it." He's just like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
like, he's not doing
they're
it
constantly
perfectly.
giving him shit. They're giving him
Yeah.
shit constantly. But it's like, I mean, how do you that situation must have sucked so fucking bad. I mean, you can't imagine. You've got one guy wounded. Okay, that really sucks. Okay, let's get a Casevac. 10 minutes. That was the recurring theme. You know? And okay, now 2 guys are wounded. Shit. Okay, now 5 guys are wounded. And you're just sitting there, you're like, do I go out there and become a casualty, or do I sit here and take care of this guy and pull security? Like, what are we gonna get ambushed? Like, it was just that whole like tension constantly through the film, and I'm like, holy shit! And then it ends just, okay, these guys finally get Casevac, finally, and then it's just like, yeah, this guy survived, this guy survived, this guy survived, this guy died of his wounds, and this guy, you know, whatever, and they went on to do this, and I'm like, excellent. Like, it was a very, it was just so, it was well shot, and again, the actors were phenomenal.
Yeah,
because
the actors sold it really well.
Oh Christ, I mean,
really well.
The direction and the writing was good.
Yeah.
And then they got people who took this role seriously. And my God, it was tough to watch. It really was, because I'm like, oh shit. So go ahead, Brian.
For a film too, where you don't even get to see one gun fired.
I was
Right.
gonna say that there is one gun fired, and it's the pistol he shoots to get the radio to turn on.
Oh,
Which I thought was really funny. I thought that was really good. And then I'm like, well, they're gonna engage. Can anyone tell me what they were engaging with, the Taliban? Were they just reacting to what they thought fired it? So that's why they were firing like down into the base of the hill.
Well, there were traces going back and forth, so they were getting.
They were going back.
That
and
one
forth.
outpost
Okay,
was getting incurring fire from that little.
Okay,
gas station,
I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I liked how you saw RPGs at night going through that occasionally. Like, I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
That was all. I did like that sequence. I liked how far away it was shot. I like, again, for what it is, I thought it was done really well.
Well, he did a lot of this shit in 317th Platoon. Like the whole like far away kind of.
Oh yeah.
The whole like, you're not there, but you can see it.
See everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think this film is one of the only films that accurately describes air support.
Like 10 minutes out, 3 hours later. Like,
sorry, bingo.
And the wrong air support.
Yeah. Even like the accent for the guy, because it's a NATO pilot and everything.
It's a Dutch pilot. Yeah.
I thought that was really great.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, this is probably one of the most accurate Gwot films I've ever fucking seen. It might as well have been a documentary, but it was shot in a way of a movie, It's like the directing and the cinematography and the acting, phenomenal. For every cast member, the Americans or the people that were portraying them, phenomenal. Like, everything was, again, I thought I was watching just live footage at a certain point, and then I'm like, oh, this is filmed this way. Okay, I can see the shots. It's wide here. It's, narrow here. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a movie, but my God. And then the tension that they conveyed got through, at least to me. It was like the whole time after that first mine goes off, it's just tension, fear, and boredom at the same time. And that's what a lot of war actually is. And yeah, so I was very pleasantly surprised by this, and I was also like disturbed by it, but in a good way. I'm like, finally something is accurate and did not fuck these guys' stories over. You know?
Yeah, I'll definitely be
So-
showing this to people in the future.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not
Brian.
like Paul Gross's, disturbance. Like, we want to talk about another Commonwealth Afghan war
You know,
movie.
we're just having a jolly conversation, then you have to bring up gross. Like, good lord.
Well,
Yeah.
let's phone a friend.
Come on, guys. We're all friends here. We don't talk about those movies, all right? Like, come
Yeah.
on.
There's a reason why
If
his
you-
name is Gross.
If you want us to have Paul Gross on as a guest, please comment.
I'll gladly have him on as a guest.
Yeah, I'll have him on. And I'll just rip him apart.
Right. Just be
Yes.
like, you better be
Okay.
ready for this.
Yeah.
A Scuttlebutt, Canada Day special. I don't know.
Scuttlebutt verbal abuse
Canada Day
edition.
special.
I don't know. We'll get a Canadian holiday. I don't know. Top of my somebody phone Devin. Get him on the line.
Yeah,
We should
yeah.
do that where, like, shitty movies from Scuttlebutt, we have the director on to talk to them. And we'll have Uwe Boll on, we'll
Oh.
have, Paul
Yeah.
Gross. Uwe Boll will probably want to box all of us.
Dumb son of a bitch. Go lay down. Come on.
What's going on in there?
But this is a good time to segue with our sticker question for the week. So, for this week's sticker trivia, has to deal with mines. What other country besides Afghanistan is the most heavily mined country in the world? And to give you a hint, it happens to deal with a conflict we touched on last week. The first person to message our Instagram or Facebook with that country's title will get this week's sticker.
What the fuck did we even do last week?
Platoon 317.
Oh. Right. Okay, right.
But it's very short. It's very short-term thinking, and it has extremely long-term negative effects.
Yep.
Well, we
So-
lost Michael.
Yeah.
Did he
That's
step
all
on a
right.
mine?
They'll come
All
back.
right.
You probably just hit the wrong button. But no, mines are absolutely fucking horrific, and it's like,
We got Castovac 10 minutes out. Don't worry, Michael. It's gonna
it's
be okay.
Yeah,
like
Stay
you're
with
right
us.
though. Like you're right. It's like caltrops, and then once they're there, hey, guess what? After they drop caltrops, guess how many civilians had their horses or themselves fucked up from that?
More guys than their initial
Yeah.
target.
Right. That's what I mean. And it's like, but there's a lot of other things in the film that, are absolutely great. Like the fucking, when he gets those cans of, mixed fruit at the beginning, and it's like a commodity, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Excellent. And he's like, oh, I'll just save these until whatever. And he just starts eating them. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
When you're out in the middle of absolutely bumfuck nowhere eating rations, which suck, you can't control yourself. And that was good.
The
I
porno
could not find
mags,
anything-
The
what?
porno mags that came in, and then
Oh,
one of them
God,
was
yeah.
one of them is a guy magazine, and he's like, "This one's for you."
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Whoever was there on site for the writing and whatever, it's like obviously they probably got a lot of, what's the words I'm looking for?
Advisement?
Advisement. But what's the word when? Brain won't work today.
They'll die.
No, shut up. The
I think whoever the writer was actually there.
what is it called when you get someone's summary of an event? What the fuck word is that?
Synopsis or.
I don't. It's in my brain.
Oh,
I
dude, we have
can't.
the same problem.
Ah,
No, we have the
owl, monkey, eagle.
account.
The fuck is going on?
My brain it won't work today. Fuck.
I struggle with words a lot too.
Anyway,
Nathan,
anyway,
the ADHD assassin.
It's not the fucking word. What is
Story?
it? No.
How
Narrative.
many letters is the word?
Account.
I just said
Mike just
account.
said
you
that.
I
fucking-
didn't hear that.
You were you were such in a fucking panic. Oh my god.
An account
Whatever.
of what happened, like a
I
written
think
account
whoever wrote this
of
or
something.
whoever commissioned this person to write it was there because
God, that was almost as tense as defusing a mine.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was-
Yeah, my
Jesus.
brain. yeah.
Fucking Nate's gonna stroke out over here.
Nate's
like
actually a
fucking-
Soviet butterfly bomb.
Defusing my Mason.
But no, I agree with you. Like, here's the thing: is like people can write fucking war movies, and Paul Gross does a really good job at that shit. He's so good.
One of
He's
the
so
best.
familiar with the topic, and
You're
Does a
getting
lot of
close
really
to a
good work.
cock punch there, Mike.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
He was
I
a
think-
sniper, you know. He can reach out and touch you.
Yeah, he was stationed at
Not where you want
Hyena
to.
Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna touch me, my Willie?
Him and Devin shared the same foxhole. Explains a lot.
Shots fired.
Yeah, but no. Anyway, whoever wrote this or whoever like devised this, it's so detailed that you had to have at least had a good friend or somebody in your sphere to talk to about what it actually is like, because yes, again, the Brits are different people than us as far as like their language, their slang, their kind of mannerisms and shit like that, but that was portrayed extremely well, because all the Brits that I was around in Kuwait and Iraq, they acted just like these guys. And so it's like, okay, and then you guys got further into that story that nobody really knows about. So yeah, it was just the banter, I guess, back and forth was extremely accurate, of just, you know, and the guys having like kind of a break out there, like it's fucking, you know, just screaming, getting pissed. That's 100% accurate. It happens. You have to all mitigate that. You're all in an overall shitty situation, and then you have to mitigate tiny ones and try to like put the fires out, you know. And yeah, it was just fucking insane to like just the whole atmosphere.
The one of the scenes that really stood out to me, and I don't know if you guys, maybe you guys caught it or whatnot, was or thought it was as powerful as I was. I thought the one time like sound effects, everything kind of culminated at one moment, was him thinking about ending them with that sniper rifle.
Yep.
I thought that was a really powerful moment right there.
Because
Not-
that's better than what they're going through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how they isolated it is what I think is so powerful. Like if you had just showed someone like looking at it, and then he got this, and it's like, you know, dull noise, and then, you know, they're like, hey, wait, like, what do you think? And he's like, oh, blah blah blah. Like it would be a passing moment. It's the culmination of the editing, the sound, and everything to that moment that was really powerful and really interesting.
I think the whole film was basically that, what you just said, is like, I think everything past the first 5-10 minutes, even in then, it was like I was hooked immediately. Like I said, I was like, but the way it was shot was so intense, I guess is the best word I can come up with right now. It was so intense, and it's so like visceral, and like you can feel what everybody's going through. The guys that are wounded, the guys who are trying to help them, the guys that are pulling security. You can feel everything, all the tension, everything that's going on. And they're still giving each other shit. Again, the banter is fantastic. It really had me on edge the whole fucking time. In a good way. Not in a bad way. And it was really, again, a good breath of fresh air, because we've done some fucking nasty ones in the past couple months. But we're on a roll right now of like good shit.
This is when Brian says G.I. Jane's next week, and you know.
Well, Alexander's next week.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
Alexander.
we got Sean on for that one.
Yeah, but that's not that's an interesting movie. So
That one
I
might
can't wait to hear what he says.
break the streak. If I remember correctly, Alexander's not.
No, and that's going to be great, because you can hear that toe-headed fuck bitch about how inaccurate it is the whole fucking time. And yeah, he's blonde as shit.
He's
man.
a blondie, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's definitely
toe-headed
a
fuck. Well,
Yeah,
He's a little
fucking
Dennis the
Q-tip.
Menace kind of guy.
He's a Q-tip, and like
so.
so.
The menace.
Oh yeah. So anyway, it'd be nice to hear him bitch about that. But like this one, there was a couple. Again, why would you put the sniper out in front? But like, you know,
Right, yeah.
just minor tactical shit. The CG,
Minor. It's not egregious.
No, the CG. It's forgivable. The little things. But go ahead, Brian.
I think it's time for
IMFDB?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jumping the
Again,
gun there.
Before we get into.
Is it on there?
Oh, by the way, before I came on, somebody commented on our Platoon 317 review.
Oh no.
Let me just read it, what it says.
Oh
Right.
no. All right, here we go.
And then we'll jump into this.
Can't wait.
It's funny. someone said, would be a lot better without the excessive use of bad fucking language. No, it's just bad language, but yeah.
Tell them to get off the internet then.
Grow up.
I'm fucking sorry. Anyway, so moving on with
Is that
real
it?
language.
Was that the only comment?
Yeah, that was the only comment.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Okay, sorry.
I've had worse.
But don't listen to it. Turn it off and don't fucking come back. Nobody gives a fuck about what your fucking, super hyper Christian fucking, evangelical con ass thinks about, swearing. You probably have fucked other women. You've probably fucking done horrific shit in your life. But oh God forbid somebody fucking swears on the internet on a fucking podcast. Fuck yourself, you fucking child. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
If you would like to watch a non-swearing podcast that reviews war movies, you can check out Combat Christians. They're a Mormon pastoral group, and they review films made by Christian. Yes.
Combat Christians.
We should
Hit
do
them
a
up. They're
separate.
RSS. So,
We should do a thing where Nate goes in and bleeps out every swear word that we fucking say, and it's just like you listen to the podcast, you can't really get the idea of it.
You'd be missing.
It's just
so
constant
much,
bleeps. It's just
you'd
a
be
one
missing so
long
much-
bleep.
You've been missing so much fucking context.
No. Listen, it's not bleeps. It's like '90s TNT movie where they put additional. They replace the bad language with like terrible dialogue.
Oh, the dubbed in, like the
Yeah,
fucking
dubbed in,
nasty.
like, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. This is
Scrambled
what happens
eggs.
when you find a stranger in the Alps.
This is what happens when you eat scrambled eggs or whatever the other part of that is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
I want to say something though. I was watching TV the other day, like on cable TV, and all of a sudden they just start ripping the F-bomb. I'm like, what the hell? And it's TNT, and it's
They
not
can-
bleeped.
They do that after midnight. They do that like after like a certain. I think it's like
Oh.
after 10 or something. But they can do
My
that.
father was watching like rerun cable because you can do that on the TV on the DV TiVo thing, whatever the fuck
Right.
it's called.
Local
The
man
DVR.
realizes that
DVR, thank you.
Relic Media still exists. What is this? The news?
That shows my age. The fact that I said TiVo.
TiVo. I remember TiVo, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember TiVo. That was the shit back when I was in middle school.
I thought they stopped filming TV in like 2003. Like,
Oh, Christ.
But yeah,
Yeah,
after
wow.
in this day,
you want to, sorry.
in
go
this day and age, after a certain time, they won't bleep certain things now.
ahead. Wow.
It's just
Yeah,
a matter of time before they don't do it at all.
that's why the combat Christians don't watch television as
Yeah,
well.
we'll just circle back.
Yes.
I'm sorry for fucking swearing so goddamn much.
Yeah.
I'm really fucking sorry for that. It
gotta
sounds
watch
like
your
hell. It doesn't do a
fucking
damn bit of good. I know. And
Thank you for your time, but different strokes for different folks. Moving on.
IMFTV. Here we go.
IMDb.
Combat,
Here we go.
combat Christians. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Father Michael, Father Nate, and Father James. Yes, they're a great group of people.
James never swears. That's a good thing.
No, he's a great
That's a
fucking guy.
fallacy.
Yeah, he's a great fucking dude.
They really
Amazing
are.
fucking
They're a
dude.
good crew.
Yeah, the L85A2.
They did it. I didn't like their opinion of SPR, but anyway. L85, yes. It's funny because I really wanted to see one of these shoot in the film, but they never shot it all, which is kind of funny because they're horrible pieces of shit that never work it
Okay.
anyway.
yeah,
So
that's what I was gonna. So like, don't know really anything about this type of firearm, but I have kind of always heard that this is a bad rifle. Like, is that true from what
the
you guys?
first ones were really bad, and it just made this really bad reputation for them.
Yeah, the A2 is like, I don't know, because I obviously saw Brits a lot carrying them in Iraq and not Afghanistan, but like Kuwait and shit. And when I'd see them out at the range firing, they worked. Like they were firing them. They're just a bullpup. It's like a lot of the problems they had too was with the magazines. And just like we had with our M4s and shit, like
There was a nickname like skate rail assault rifle or something. The very
Yeah.
early ones were like, very hated because you're going from a fucking SLR, an FAL
Yep.
series of rifle to this, and it's like you're going from a Cadillac to like a Neon.
Well, it's like all the
You know?
it's like all the boomers that are like, we went from the M14 to the M16. It's like, yeah, the first ones. Well, the powder was the actual biggest culprit of the fuckery, but
The only one stock I knew in '69 was an M14.
yep.
But yeah, I love the L85 though. It looks so cool.
It's weird. Like I've actually never held one or fired one, but I've
They're
seen.
very
I
back heavy.
there were
obviously.
Brits. Like we go to the Chow Hall in Kuwait. It was so cool. It was so like everybody from every fucking country was there, and we'd place our rifles like by our feet, right? You know, and the Brits had their fucking L85s sitting down on the floor and everything, and there was people, a lot of these people had like AR-15 clones, but like the L85s were cool, and then the Aussies had their AUGs, and I was like, that's fucking cool,
Yeah.
you know. But
AUG is
yeah.
awesome. And I played around with an L86 once too, which is the LMG version of L85, which is just
Oh,
fucking
nice.
stupid. It's like the L85 is like just ergonomically like, you know, except for whatever. It's a good design for what it is, you know. But the
Yep.
L86 is just like no. It's like the E2 stock in an M14 or like an
Yep.
H-bar M16. It's like, you know what? Cool idea, but stop right now. Just
Yep.
no. RPK is the only good fucking version of that at all, in my opinion. Even then, they're fucking heavy as shit in the long.
yeah,
like,
and they're
spears.
yeah. I mean,
So, anyway, the LE5, I'd just love to see him.
they came ass. Yep. Oh, ball.
Yep. Always good to see AKs.
The
I
L115.
thought this was an L96. I was wrong.
The whole name of it is Accuracy International. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they were like they're really high end.
They're still known, yeah.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
I think when I tried to price out like 18, I think it was like $6,000. Now they're
Yeah.
like
Didn't Henry from
10.
fucking
Henry
10.
I think Henry's
Yeah.
got one of those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or a
Henry
clone.
he
just
paid
got one,
around
yeah.
that too. 7 or something like crazy.
They're really fucking good.
If you want to reach out and touch somebody, there's only really one company to go to. That or Barrett, but Barrett's its own.
If you really want to reach out and touch somebody.
What? Yeah.
No. I know it's true. I just
Yeah.
it just made
Different
me laugh.
stock photo on this one. I like
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a classic 50 cal photo.
Yeah.
it.
I get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would too. I love that fucking thing.
Classic Land Rover. Love it.
Yeah, the L7. It's a Mag 58 with a
Mhm.
few modifications, but yeah.
So is that
Great-
like
great
is that like
fucking
is
machine
that
gun.
like another
Yep.
generation of a 58 pretty much?
It's basically a 240 Golf. They have a couple other little minor like differences, but like it's basically the 240 Bravo without the heat shield on it.
Ah,
What
gotcha.
was the first conflict the Brits used that in?
Falklands, right? Because they had the L4A1
Yeah.
Bren,
No.
but like
Nope.
Desert Storm.
One more guess. A lot earlier.
Vietnam.
Malay.
Mm.
Malaysian insurgency in the early 60s was the first time they were used.
Huh.
That's when they were adopted. The
They're
Aussies used them
fucking-
in Vietnam, and they loved them. Fucking,
Dude, they're fucking awesome machine guns. Like
the pig was great. Don't get me wrong, but in
Yep.
Vietnam, like if I had a choice, if you were gonna be a light machine gunner and you could choose anything, it's heavier.
Well,
but
here's the thing: is Jake and I
might
were
go
talking
with
about
the
this. Like,
58.
if you're a dismounted infantryman, the pig is better.
True.
If you're a mounted anything, this is far superior.
Yep. Imagine if
'Cause
a guy put one of these on his like the back end of his 113 or something, or like even in Huey, fucking.
Oh, dude, if I had a
Interesting.
240, what the fuck is it? A 240 Mike, which is the fucking 240 with a butterfly
Yep.
trigger on it. I would take that over a fucking 60 any day.
Yep.
That fucking thing, if I was like a door gunner, dude,
yeah.
that fucking thing, the 240 is such a fucking great machine gun. And I'm not just saying that because I will point out flaws on any fucking firearm that I've had to use and I own, you know? There's a lot of firearms that I own that I'm like, it's got this flaw and that flaw. Not my favorite, but it's cool to have it. The fucking 240 or the Mag 58 in general, a phenomenal machine gun. Unless you're dismounted infantry, it sucks.
And
It's
it's
not
just-
fun to carry at all. It's not convenient at all. It's fucking heavy. It's not balanced. It's fucking. There's nowhere to carry it like comfortably. It just fucking sucks.
But they're awesome.
Oh,
And when you
they're fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you get up close to them, you see how simple they are, and it's like, oh, it's just
They're simple, but
great.
they're like bulky. They're like heavy.
Mhm.
Like it's
and
Yeah.
and they're called the Gimpies in the British Army, which is a nickname for their GPMG.
really
theme.
quick. I'm gonna go let the dog out. He's got to go shit. I know
Yep,
he's got to go shit.
Go
I
ahead.
don't want him to shit.
Yeah,
now.
you doing the
It
shit
was cool
dance.
to see
I
the
got it.
saw as well, which is not a weapon you commonly associate with Brits. At least I don't.
Yeah, you don't see it that often. But I mean, like if anything, it's like I feel like it's all like NATO countries share
Oh yeah.
some assets of
And-
roll weaponry.
Also, paras and certain military units use different weapons as well. But the paratrooper saw actually weighs more than the regular saw too, which is kind of funny because that stock is way heavier than the plastic one.
Yeah, much heavier.
I knew a guy that got one because he didn't like the weight of his original saw, and he was like, "What the fuck?" He was not happy.
And those
But,
are the
yeah.
guns in the movie.
Yeah, thankfully they didn't use them that much.
Yeah.
I wish there were some landmine. I wish they could have identified some of the landmines.
They're all buried except for like there's the edge of one, the one that they mark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most likely that's. Hold on. Let me just for fun. Let me look up Soviet landmines.
Well, they would have been butterfly mines, toy mines, were some of the ones they would have buried. But the Soviets really didn't bury mines in Afghanistan. They just scattered them everywhere for interdiction.
Soviet
And the butterfly
landmines
mines look like little butterflies, and the way that they're shaped, they flutter in the sky, and they
Are
spin
those
down.
green ones?
Yes, we used to
Okay.
make ones for reenactments,
And,
for Afghan war events, in
didn't
like seed places.
didn't care at all to clean them up after the war was over.
Why? They left in
Right?
'87. They failed. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I know. It's just that's
Yeah.
just how it usually is for most of these kind of conflicts.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Again, mines are awesome for a very limited set of circumstances for a very limited set of time for military means. They serve a great purpose. But once you're outside of that 30, 60, 3-month scope, whatever, then they're horrible relics of a period in time that just maim and kill. So, I mean, we've had Dave Howland on here from Gwot Walking a Battlefield. And he talks about all the time, how the natives go look for rusty gold because they know the white man will buy it. And half the time it's fucking old hand grenades and shit. And kids lose their hands and their arm. Whatever. I mean, it's horrible, And it's
But
the
that's-
detritus of war.
That's one of the if you really want to go anti-war, that's a really good thing to talk about. Is that even though these wars eventually cease or end or something like that, in a way they never do because there's still shit around to hurt people.
They bomb mostly population centers during the war, and generally in history, unless there's a big event, population centers don't change. 8 years after the fact, I think 2 or 3 years now, they're digging up 250, 500, 1,000-pound bombs fucking all over Europe. And they're mostly, like I said, population centers. So they have to close down train stations and move people away. And, I just watched a video the other day about the last bomb that technically fell in Britain. They exploded in 2021. And it did a shit ton of damage. It was like a big 1,000-pound, they call it the Satan or something. And all these people tried to get insurance claims for it, and they said it was an act of war, so you have to go after the Germans. And the Germans have a clause where they don't have to pay anything. So it's just like, well, you have to pay for the damage. The Germans dropped a bomb 80 years ago, sorry.
Yeah.
Like a college lost half its dorm because they were just, whoops, sorry,
They blew up a bunch of them in the canal in the fucking London Channel a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I probably a few years ago. It's probably 10 years ago at this point. But the point is like they still find them everywhere.
There's this famous ship.
Rambo
off the
4, he
coast.
found one in the fucking jungle, man. He set off with claymores. I mean,
Yeah,
like, come
and
on, like
That's a very historically accurate movie.
There's this famous ship that was
I'll watch
sunk
it any day.
by the Luftwaffe off the coast of the UK.
I'd like to do a commentary on that one sometime. Yeah.
Off
Sorry.
of Kent, in the eastern part of the UK, and basically it was an ammunition ship, and it was full of like 80 tons of explosives, and it sank, and it's still kind of out of the water. It was shallow territory, and long story short, if you do the math, it's like 2 Hiroshimas if it ever goes up, and nobody knows if it's going to go up, and it's like right there, and it's so deteriorated that it's not worth salvaging because nobody knows that the salvage efforts will actually detonate it. So it's like this just there's this volcano that a man-made volcano like 10 miles off the coast. Just
Where is this?
It's in the UK.
Eventually, it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like that random explosion in Beirut, where
Yes, no, literally,
it's gonna just be like that.
Yeah, like they'll feel it in Berlin and they'll feel it in Dublin, and all these people will die. But it's just
What is
this?
It's I
I'll
missed
get
the
the name of the
context.
ship.
Was it like is it nukes?
It was an ammunition ship that was full of explosives headed to Normandy in 1944, and the Germans sank it off the coast of the UK, and they never stripped it.
But what's it filled of? Just explosives?
Like ammonium nitrate, 80,000 tons of ammonium nitrate.
Fuck.
Yeah, and it's just
and that's
like I said,
in the Channel. That's in the English Channel, like
10 miles off the coast of Kent in England.
The fuck.
It's there, and you can see it. It's part of it sticking out of the water, and it's there.
Oh, like a part of it sticking out of the water.
Yeah, it's shallow. Yes, no, you can see part of the. wreck.
It's not like
It's sinking like 80
3
feet of
miles
water
down in the.
No,
How has this not been fucking touched?
Because it was so dangerous back then. They just were like, "Well, just let it lie," and nobody's.
I'm gonna say kick the can down the road.
The problem is the population center has grown like 10 times since then. So that's the. Like I said, there's a man-made volcano just sitting.
What's
there.
the boat called? What's it called?
I'll get the name of it. So.
Also, I was listening to you guys like when I was taking the dog out to take a shit, and he shat something fierce, which is good. Like 5 giant turds sprayed out of his ass.
Get them logs out, dude. Yeah.
Whoa! This is a Christian podcast, okay?
We don't swear on here. We don't fucking swear.
Yeah.
But no. Anyway, no, Brian, the 249 Para does not weigh more, because the barrel, if you actually get the short barrel, it takes about 3 pounds off. And yes, the stock is heavy, but the actual, oh my god, the stock. The regular stock on a fucking 249 is only like a half a pound fucking lighter than that. It's fucking heavy. So they actually don't weigh more. They're just more dense. And it feels like it's a heavier fucking saw with the shorty barrel and the fucking, I know you're going to look it up. I don't care. But like holding one, like because I used some Para versions that we had, and they're still like around 14 pounds.
It's still freaking heavy.
Yeah.
So as long as you have the right combination, then it actually is.
Yeah, no. If you have a regular barrel with a fucking Para stock, like the collapsible one, yeah, it's gonna be heavier than shit because it adds about a half a pound. But if you have the shorty barrel on there, which also makes it recoil like a motherfucker and it's loud as shit, they're very similar in weight.
Mm-hmm. So I just sent a photo of.
Oh shit!
The SS Richard Montgomery.
Well, that title's ironic.
This is Richard Montgomery who lies.
Sorry, the wreck still held munitions containing approximately 1,400 tons of TNT.
Jeez. Yeah.
Jesus.
That's like the fucking the Messines Ridge charge.
Why?
One of the reasons the explosives had not been removed was due to an unfortunate outcome of a similar operation in July of 1967 that tried a similar thing on a Polish ship that sank in 1946. That during preliminary work exploded with a force of an earthquake measuring 4.5.
Oh yeah.
I just looked it up on Google Earth. You can still see its mast sticking out.
You can see its 3 masts sticking out of the water. There's an American flag on it. And like I said, if you look at the map to where it is, into the
that's really fucking bad.
How in the fuck did the Germans sink that? How the fuck did the Germans sink that close?
And I fucked up. I was wrong. It actually was run aground.
So it was like coming back.
Yeah.
The U.S. sailors fucked that one up.
No, it was headed towards Normandy.
Oh.
But the U.S. sailors fucked that one up.
I see.
Big time.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
the crazy
This
thing.
is in that same area that has those big towers out there in the wall.
Oh, the flak towers?
That has those big British. They're like these like rusted buildings on stilts that are out in the water.
Yeah, the flak towers.
Yeah, that's where
they were flak batteries.
Yeah, that's where those are located too.
That's the ship, and you could see the coastline in the back.
Dude,
it's fucking
whoopsie doodle.
Nobody knows. No, like I said, it's like, it's.
Is the government just putting blankets over it at this point?
Nobody has done anything, Nathan, except for they every few years they survey it. And
I just imagine you see a Gulf
That's really fucking bad.
I just imagine
It's the world's biggest hot
you
potato.
just, like,
I mean, what are you
you
gonna
cut
do?
to it, you see like a gull flying over it, and you see like a white ship just like land on it, and then it like goes up. It's just
For
Yeah,
the
yeah.
pearl.
yeah. Just takes a little
We
shit
could make
on
a
it.
disaster movie. Like let's make like a good 1970s disaster movie, and it starts out with like Finding Nemo,
Mhm.
and it's like, oh look, we're in the ship. Oh,
Don't
what's that
touch the
crate?
boat. Don't touch the
Boom.
boat.
Yeah,
And
right.
then just immediately cut to
Or it's like-
the shot of that shot from the 50s of the nuke going off in the water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's like an American sailor skeleton, like here, and like this head.
They
like,
also
skull
use it in
falls
World
off.
War Z.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
God,
Bikini Atoll.
yeah,
Yep.
Bikini Atoll.
But to
That's
circle back,
insane.
war
Yeah,
detritus.
let's get back
you
on
know?
topic.
Sorry,
Right.
that just blows my mind that it even exists in this world.
There's an 80-year-old ticking time bomb right off the coast of the UK.
Dude, there's so much of that shit that exists, Nate. Like, it's better
It's
you just
scary.
don't know about it.
There's
Right.
some things, Nate, you don't want to know.
But like I knew there were some like wrecks, like everywhere in the world that are like that. Like fuck, us we have 2 unknown nukes in the fucking Atlantic Ocean, like the United
Yeah.
States. Like I
Yep.
know that. Like that. Okay, that's gonna happen someday. My point is like it's right. The disturbing thing. It's right on the coast in a fucking harbor, and you're not doing anything. You're just like kicking that can down the road. We might as well. Just
Exactly.
fucking-
It's like you don't want to be the one responsible for fucking something up and everybody getting eviscerated.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but they're gonna be eviscerated soon.
Are they? It's been sitting there for 80 fucking years.
It's gonna break in two soon, they
you
say.
can see this thing. So you can see this thing from Google Earth Street View.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
That's why I'm really glad that I'm landlocked where I'm at in the U.S.
Oh, I forget there was an estimate of like damages. I can't find it exactly, but it was like they were gonna build an airfield in the area, but they decided not to because there's
There's an airport on the map you sent me.
But they were gonna build an international one, but they decided not to. Because
Whoops a daisy.
Don't
Or
want to
that-
send diplomats to
Before it
that
goes
one,
off
yeah.
and causes an international crisis. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the effect
so
of
the other thing,
Yeah.
not to cut you off, I sort of forget, but so the other thing that the Polish ship was also further out to sea, and it was under a lot more water,
Yeah.
and it had just a fraction of the load of explosives that this one does. So,
So fucked
damn.
up, it's just hilarious.
and all the explosives have lead and copper fuses that are known to degrade in seawater. So,
What if this went off right
well,
as we're talking
it's
about it?
it's an experiment.
could.
Let's just see how long
no
it
idea.
takes.
if you forget about something long enough, it just goes away.
You know, is a kid just gonna kids are gonna start like throwing rocks at it one day, and it's just gonna go.
Gonna take a
Like,
fishing
it's
boat out
that
One
there.
little
kinda-
one little like actual like physical
yeah,
shock.
yeah,
Boom.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, boink! Cut to Bikini Atoll.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
You
that's
see a bright flash.
insane, dude.
Yeah.
What city is it? It's next to Kent.
They call it the Doomsday Ship. No, it's next to that town of the image. It's near
It's like
Kent.
southern
it's next
England.
to Chatham. It's southeastern. It's I think where the Thames goes out to the ocean.
That's
Yeah, City Born
insane.
and
Thames
yeah.
estuary. But
That's
Yeah.
not good.
they call it the
Yes.
Doomsday Shipwreck.
If anyone's local to that area, please reach out. I want to know what you think about this shit, or if you're just finding out now through us, through 4 dumb American schmucks.
Well, hey, to lead this all back, this is involving the British and the British blowing themselves up.
Yeah,
so,
we are at least not.
Oh, hey,
At least we're not
this is
talking
a
about the
great
fucking
article.
like Korean War or sorry, not talking about the Korean War during Korean War podcast. At least it's somewhat relevant. So
This is great. This headline says a sunken U.S. warship in the River Thames has enough explosives to cause a tsunami.
As Nate said in our little live stream we did a couple weeks ago, it's 4 retards watching a war movie and talking about it. That's what
And
it
this
is.
This is an early tidal warning for the River Thames. So you might want to
Warning,
get river.
warning.
You want to get flooding insurance.
tsunami, warning.
It's
Tsunami.
funny right now.
Warning.
Oh, it's hysterical
funny-
right
It's
now.
funny
Right
right
now.
now
Well, hey,
because
here's the thing.
right
the good,
now,
the good
yeah.
news is when it does inevitably
You know what I
happen,
mean.
we won't be surprised. We'll be like, oh, I know about that.
Right.
I was waiting for that bitch to pop off. Yeah.
In
yes.
about 2015, a bunch of my friends, myself, went down to New Orleans to have like a buddies weekend, and we got fucking drunk as shit. And during one of the conversations we had, we were talking about like, hey, what would fuck up society the worst? A war, a civil war, this, that, and the other thing. And one of my friends said a pandemic, because you have no idea how much a pandemic will fuck up society from now and after the fact. We're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. 5 years later, fucking what happens, So it's funny at some points, and then when it happens, you're like, oh fuck. So
right.
Life is funny like that when you.
No, but at least us four retards and people who are listening will be aware of like when it does pop off. They'll be like, oh yeah, well,
Scuttlebutt warned us.
We knew about this.
The U.S. Navy's gift to England.
The U.S. did a lot of gifts to England.
The guy that fucking ran that ship aground is probably dead. So,
no one responsible for it will ever be affected by these problems.
He died in a hospice home.
Yeah,
he has no idea that his
they will never have to atone for like the fuck up, colossal fuck up that they did.
And on that point, to think about, I thought about that in this movie, that all of the dudes that dropped those mines, that maimed these soldiers,
bringing it back.
With 30, they're in their 40s or early 50s if they're even alive, working somewhere around the world, doing whatever. Like the people that plant these things don't want these things to happen to these people 40, 30, 50, 100 years later on. But it's just, unfortunately, the circumstances of the events, And it's just crazy to think about that, Something that somebody did 40 years ago is going to affect somebody that shouldn't be there in the first place. So.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy, man.
And on that note, I think we have arrived at final thoughts.
Yeah, we have.
So who wants to go first?
Mike,
yeah, I'll go first.
So
yeah, like I said, these are the kind of war films, like this and the one we watched last week. These are the kind of war films that I want to see made, and I want people to acknowledge and watch. And just freaking, as I've said it before, like just unforgiving, dude. And what's great about this too is that it's not like with this movie that these landmines are there because of them filthy Taliban or something, that they're fighting. It's from a previous thing that the freaking Russians put there. And it's again, like I said, it could have been in any war, this situation. And just really good all around. We've mentioned everything at this point, what's great about it, and I highly recommend it, and I wish it got more recognition. So I'm going to give this one a 9.5 out of 10.
Decent. Yeah, no, this is a really interesting film that does exactly as advertised. It shows guys going to a minefield and what you can do to try to get out of one. It's just this hell of fighting something that you don't see so much in warfare, and in like, if people want to get into some paramilitary thing like airsoft reenacting, in a way, like we're just confronted with direct fire, and so many people know how to confront direct fire means, but 80% of warfare is indirect fire. It's artillery shells, it's mortar fire, it's mines in the fucking ground. So to have a film that focuses on that is very interesting. And also something interesting that they didn't show in the film is these guys had a really long battle. Once they got home, they actually had to fight the UK government for their rights. Like they ended up with like a 4 or 5 year long suit or lawsuit that ended up with like millions of pounds of just coverage for them, and they were able to get these really awesome prosthetics and like actually able to fulfill and live their lives as people again. But they had a really, really long fight. It wasn't just getting through this event. Like everyone that has to deal with a wounding or something, half of it is the event that occurs, and the other half is the fight to get your life back. But they had a really rough road, and they had a really bad time. It wasn't an easy road, but no, it does a really good job. The only thing that this film lacks is in a few little areas, maybe due to budget or, like we were saying earlier, just early shooting constrictions. You got to find your groove. But that being said, I'm going to give this film a solid 9. It's really well done, and so far as I could tell, it's the best Commonwealth perspective film on Gwot. There's really nothing else out there like it, and it's awesome. And I hope my aunt sends me 10 quid for my birthday.
Yeah. This is Again, every time Brian suggests something to me, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. It's like a dice roll, right? And but this was fucking amazing. And this, like I said earlier, is probably one of the most graphically realistic depictions of the Gwot I've ever seen. And I loved every way it was portrayed. The directing, the acting was phenomenal. The writing was actually really fucking good. I can forgive the minor errors that I saw. The gear was actually really good too. Like the oh fucking A, they were wearing, you know, Mark 6's DPM Desert, fucking pattern 85 or 95 gear, all that shit. It was good to go. They knew how to use their medical equipment. Like it was like, because it's really, it does get complex when you get into medical equipment. Like even the grunts are trained, but it's like if you're in that situation, you might not know what you need, and you might not be carrying enough, and that's why whatever. Anyway, yeah, just the whole overall vibe, and then that there's really no resolution. They get out of there, and one of the guys dies. The rest of them are permanently fucking wounded, and then like Brian said earlier, like they had to fight the government to get their prosthetics, which is fuck the UK and the way they treat their vets. But yeah, so this is because it was so visceral, and I did have to walk away at a couple times because I was like, oh my god. But no, this gets a 9.6 from me.
Yeah, so this one was I'm glad I was able to get my schedule aligned for this one. I'm glad I saw it. It's really really I mean it's always hard going last, but what everyone else said I totally agree with. It's definitely a complete a complete different approach to the formulaic routine that we constantly get with war films. And I think this is a really, really interesting way to go about it. I think it's a good representation of a situation that is just so fucked and unfortunately happened. Maybe not to the T that this film represents, but close fucking enough. So I'm not gonna go on and on, but like I really really loved all the aspects of what I normally look for, and also other aspects of it that I normally don't gravitate to. I think this film does a really good job. However, I do agree with Mike B. There are some things that's like, okay, we've done enough of these, and I know enough about tactics and military stuff that I know that this doesn't go here, this doesn't do this. Like, oh, that's a Hollywoodism. Okay, but it's so minor. I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this a 9.4 Scream Mel Gibson's out of 10. I think it deserves that.
Nice. Very cool. It's been a while since we've had all 9s.
Yeah.
It has,
yeah,
but
it's
this one
been a
deserves
while.
it.
Yeah.
This one fucking deserves it.
Yeah.
So, putting this into the computer that will tell us how many mines the Soviets dropped in Afghanistan during their conflict there, we get a score of 9.34
Yep.
out of
See
10.
this movie.
So, it
Yes.
falls in the category of Friday night primetime.
It's 9.3 fucking 4, Brian.
Oh, I'm fucking sorry about that.
Nice.
Oh yeah, fucking.
Come on. You gotta
Stop
fucking
with the fucking
realize what
swearing.
the fuck we're doing here. You
You
gotta
goddamn-
fucking stop swearing. All right?
Goddamn fucking retard! Like, you gotta stop fucking swearing, dude.
I
Well,
mean,
to be correct, hey, I need some Arabic swears or some fucking like Hindu.
Mike
Christian
Mike
swears
would
to be
know that. I
correct.
don't know any of
I
that.
actually, yeah,
he
I
didn't
can
deploy there. But
He was employed there.
It's a really good movie.
Nicht
know-
nefsek karakos.
Whatever he said.
Means fuck yourself, clown.
Yeah, exactly. Hey,
Careful.
that's not very combat Christian.
Sean,
You looked at
yes.
I'll bleep that out, but I will bleep it out. I will keep it in there, but I will bleep
Yeah,
it
yeah.
out.
Beep is listening. Oh yeah.
You know who you are.
Fuck
Gotta get the
stick.
address from the Monty Python
And
skit.
if you've heard this far and you've listened to this, you are a sinner.
Yeah.
Okay? You've listened to so many cuss words at this point. You are a fat
His
sinner.
initials are ironically S&M.
Oh!
So what kind of Christian are you, sir?
Not a very good one. Jesus would not be fucking happy. No. It's a really awesome movie. Thank you,
Oh, it
Sean,
was
for your
so
suggestion.
Yeah, Sean,
Yeah.
And
you're fucking amazing. We'll see you next week. You fucking
Yes.
toe-headed piece of shit.
blonde-haired bandit. We'll see
Oh
you.
God.
Blonde-haired bandit.
Wait, what is your quote? You got to read your quote.
When you're wounded and left on Afghanistan's plains, and the women come out to cut up what remains, just roll to your rifle and blow out your brains, and go to your god like a soldier.
I am the Lorax. I'm here for the trees.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description below. Until the next time, Scuttlebutt out.